we were a private team, and I remember that we had to try and deal with running engines in, you know. This was the age before chassis dynamometers and stuff like that. And one great, an overnight panic at Bathurst when we were based in the Ford dealership, Clancy Motors, and we were there with a number of other Ford teams. And after practice in '70, most of the bloody Phase 2s had piston failure. And there was a hell of a... I mean, you had a piston failure in your own engine, and you thought, God, we better go away and deal with that quietly. And then you got back to the garage and you found everybody had the same problem, you know. But there were Phase 2s all over the place with pistons pulled out of them, and dealer principals, cars who, you know, people like Max Wright and Max McLeod had driven new GT HOs up to Bathurst. Well, they all fell down and sumps were being pulled off and pistons and rods. Anyway, we rebuilt our engine, and we took a set of 8 pistons and connecting rods from Max's personal car and fitted them in the engine. And we really wanted to run that engine for some distance before we had to face the start the next morning. And so I said to Bob, look, let's take it for a run out to Blaney, and then we'll cut across and go out to Orange. So by this time, it was probably 2 a.m. We went out to Blaney, back diagonally to the Western Highway, and we were heading west now, and I looked at the temperatures and pressures, and he was driving the car, and I said, look, you could increase the engine speed a bit, and we ran it up the speed range a bit, and we came to a little town called Lucknow. And I mean, as quick as I warned him about the speed limit sign, but as quickly as we saw it, it disappeared past us, you know. And inevitably, ironically, I looked around and there were 2 little headlights coming out of the side street, and I said, gee, I think there's a cop there, mate. And so we slowed down and pulled over, and a Mini S, Highway Patrol Mini S, ran up behind us and stopped. The policeman jumped out, put his hat on, and Bob said, I'll handle this. So he got out and walked around the back of the car and started talking to the cop. And I could hear that he was getting nowhere because the policeman was trying to... He was inferring we might have stolen the car. So I got out of the passenger seat and went around, and I convinced the policeman that it was our own operation and that we legitimately were trying to run this car in and so on. But it looked like a pretty heavy fine, and I said to this young cop, I said, have you ever driven in one of these things? And he said, no. I said, well, would you like to drive it into Orange? I said, Bob, you take the S. And that's what we did. He drove it into Orange, and he stopped. When we got near the town, he said, I think I better stop here. The boss might be out in his, you know, patrol car. Anyway, that was a great story, and so we parted friends. And they were the sort of things that happened to us in those days when we were running these cars on public roads. And now and again, it wasn't... now and again, you'd get caught. And in this case, we didn't see a speeding sign, and that was a good story, you know, to remember.